Dave Poulin joins us now. Poulin, listen, I know there's a lot happening around the National Hockey League, but pretty tough not to start with the current plight of the Winnipeg Jets, regardless of who's getting traded and who's coming here. What is going on with this team? A lot of nervous fans after watching this stretch, but particularly two ugly ones this weekend.
Well, 4-8 through the last 12 doesn't make anybody happy. And in particular, I'll point to 4 home losses in that group. Only lost 10 home games all year, but 4 have been in the last, not even a month, 3/4 of a month. And so I think that's got to be addressed. 2 different games. I mean, Colorado was one of those nights. And so you dismiss that one. And yesterday came out and got stifled by a smothering Islander team early, but you're still okay. I don't love, the Riddick goal on the Horvat goal. I just don't. I know it's a good shot by a good player, but I don't like that. But still, it's 1-0 after 1 and you're fine. And then swarming, and then you've got to find a way to score in that second period, before the 2-0 goal. You had 4 good chances, in my mind, to shoot the puck early. You're missing out on all 4 occasions. The tendency when you're not scoring, Andrew, is to try and make a perfect shot. And that shouldn't have been the goal coming out in the second period. After 1 shot in the first period, the goal in the second period should have been the first shot has to be in the middle of the net. Like it has to be. Don't look to pick a corner. Hit the middle of the net. And they missed 4 times in the first minute, 20 seconds. And come down the ice, there's a confusion in my mind, between Gagne and Connor on the coverage. Romanov is left wide open. Their first shot goes in, and it's 2-0. And even then, the pushback was good. They got the chances, got the opportunities, weren't able to score, and then Nelson breaks it open. And so, very disappointing. You're going to go through stretches like this. I'd rather have it now. And I'm the master of positive spin. I'd rather have it now. And you can't kid yourself that after a year like you had last year, you are expected at some point to have a little regression. And that's okay, provided you're strong enough to break out. And I think this team is strong enough to break out. Now, a little infusion of positive between the 2 games in that you had a really good player in Nino Niederreiter. And you didn't see a guy walk over to the locker room to bring him in. When a trade is made, Andrew, and you add a good player to your team, and Nino Niederreiter, 6 times 20 goals. This will be his 7th year scoring 20. He's got 18 right now. He's a pain to play against. Guys don't like playing against him, which you welcome on your team. He goes to the front, man. He's a big guy. He's strong. He's physical. He's played 82 playoff games. But no one walked out of the locker room. And that's an important factor. You didn't lose one of your buddies. You didn't pay a price. You paid a 2nd-round draft pick in 2024, fine. That's somewhere down the road. And I don't think the team is done yet. And so that's the positive between the 2 games. You would love to have turned that out and come out better against the Islanders and played better. But same result, and that's not good enough.
Dave, it was about a month ago where, the Jets come off a long road trip. They came back home, and they had a couple of those home games that you mentioned, that 3-2 loss to Buffalo and that ugly shutout at home to Philadelphia on Saturday night. And the next game was their last game before going to the All-Star break. And it really did feel like, this is a crucial time for the Winnipeg Jets. The Boo Birds were coming out. They were playing horribly. And then Josh Morrissey put the team on his back in that 3rd period, and we still refer to it as the Morrissey game. And it got some good vibes going into the break. And then, of course, coming back out of the break, you had that game against the Chicago Blackhawks. They won in the shootout against Seattle and then hit on that road. The feeling around this team quite a bit is the struggles of that month before. And you mentioned, both things happening or history repeating itself. This hockey club and this core has had precipitous drops the second half of the 2019 season, the end of 2020. Obviously, we know what happened last year with the crew. It was pretty much over earlier. I guess the question yesterday was what Josh Morrissey did for the team a month ago. Where was that response from somebody? I guess we saw Pierre-Luc Dubois drop the Mets. It was only the 3rd time in his career. But man, it just can't. I look at this team, Dave, and it looks like guys are looking around the dressing room, and no one really knows who that guy is going to step up and put the team on his back, because someone needs to do it right now.
And I think there's enough there. And I do agree with you. Pierre-Luc Dubois is a good name to do it. Mark Scheifele is a good name to do it. Kyle Connor is a good name to do it. There's enough there to do it, without a question. I also think the infusion of Nino Niederreiter, he's a guy that brings guys to the party, Andrew. I mean, you don't have a choice. If you're on his line, you're going to be involved. And for that reason, strategically, where do you start him? Do you put him on left wing with Scheifele and Wheeler? Do you put him on left wing with Dubois? And you've got some options, but I'll guarantee you when he's on the ice and you're a line mate, you're going to be involved. You have no choice. And that's the beauty of it. And I was thinking about him yesterday in a perfect type of game where the Islanders cave in around their net and block shots and make it hard to get the puck through, at him going out and just causing havoc in front of the net. That's where I think his strength is going to be with this hockey club. I do think there's enough there for individuals to stand up and do it. I just do. I mean, Josh Morrissey certainly on defense. I don't think David Riddick had his best game yesterday. As I said, he didn't like the first goal. The other two I'm okay with, but I didn't like the first one. I think the one through traffic, the Romano shot was through traffic. Then he gets beat by Brock Nelson, who's got a pretty good shot and made a good move on the play. But you're correct. They do have to have guys stand up. Now, I think this is a different team in the way they played this year than they were last year. And I think they've proven that with their stats. And even yesterday, the way the game started, I loved the way the game started. And there were 4 hits on the first shift, and then Brendan Dillon takes the tripping penalty. And so you get off your edge a little bit, but you have a good kill because you got the number 2 penalty kill in the league. And so you're confident that you can do that. And, you've got to continue to go here, and you've got to call in the guys that I just mentioned. That's your leadership group, and that should be the guys that are capable of doing it. And they got to get together. It doesn't have to be 1. It can be 2 or 3. But don't underestimate the infusion of Nino Niederreiter.
Dave, you've spent a lot of time in NHL front offices in the past. I mean, I'm interested in your speculation on what it must be like to be a fly on the wall at Kevin Cheveldayoff's office right now. A couple of weeks ago, it really did seem like this team was going to make a push, put their best foot forward to, try to take advantage of a wide open Western Conference. The way the team has played, certainly I don't think has done much to push the general manager in that direction. Now, they did make that trade on Saturday, but with the contract situations of the likes of Dubois and Scheifele and Wheeler, how dangerous is it to make aggressive moves right now in Cheveldayoff's position, considering the trajectory of this club and what has happened in the past, knowing that the time is ticking on all of these guys' tenures with the Jets?
I don't think you look at the past so much as you look at the first 2/3 of this year or the first half of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a different group. And I say that it can be the same group and play differently because of lessons learned. And I think Rick Bowness has done a good job drilling that into them. But you still have one of the top handful of goalies in the league. And as he evidenced in New York with the Rangers, and even in the Islanders game, he's capable of doing it himself. And so let's plug him into that group that we talked about as well. And because he's capable of doing it on his shoulders and saying, guys, just come with me and we're going to do this. And they're a good enough team defensively and with Connor Hellebuyck and net that they can go ahead and get it done. But I'd reference more the team that was the first half of this year that has hovered near the top of the Central Division the entire year. And it's compressed now, yes, but 3 wins in a row when you're back in first place. I mean, it's as simple as that. You've got to figure out how to do that. And I do think it takes another move, but I think that move will be made.
What about the coach? Bones has said some very different things over the past few losses than he has earlier in this season, and it's been quite apparent. Yesterday, focusing on a very few amount of positives. I mean, not really calling out his team. He said the Friday game was the biggest game of the year, and then said that they were sleeping afterwards, and said that this was the game Sunday that was going to test their character and pride, and obviously didn't want to go down that road afterwards. this is a guy with a lot of experience, and I'm sure he's leaning on all of it right now heading into this game with the Kings tomorrow.
No question about it. He has seen it through his years, both in teams he's coached and all around it, in other teams that he's known well, that he's competed against. But, once again, just, through the sequence we've seen, we witnessed it, we've watched them play very well. And I don't think we can lump together, even though the results are similar, I don't think we can lump together Friday night and Sunday. I don't. I can look at yesterday and say, you need a break at some point as well. And you arguably need a break at 1-0. Now you make your breaks happen. And it might be an ugly goal off, someone's leg or someone's arm or someone's head for that matter. But you have to drill it up and find a way to do it. You also have to look at some individuals, and Nikolai Ehlers would be one of them who would say, we need more. You're allowed to look at a guy and say, we need more. Mark Scheifele, we need more right now. And that's okay to challenge them in that way. They're professionals. They can accept that type of challenge. And sometimes they have to be reminded of what they are capable of, because this isn't the Nikolai Ehlers that I've watched in the past when he's been at his best. It's simply not.
No, and I mean, I guess there's still questions with, how far he's come back from his surgery, although he sure looked good at the beginning of his stint, and it said that he was good. But he, like so many guys, sort of dealing with a lot of things that, haven't been synonymous with this team up until this point when they've been playing well so far this season. Back to Niederreiter, I mean, you sort of laid out the sort of player that he is, and I think, frankly, I think it's a great deal, just the fact you've got a $4 million contract for one more season. If there is another trade, you can probably recoup assets that you gave up, and considering some of the prices that are being paid elsewhere in the league, it certainly seems like Chevy got a pretty good value on it. But just, Dave, thoughts on what he adds to the lineup, and now that he's a member of the Winnipeg Jets, and we'll see him make his debut expectedly tomorrow against LA, if Kevin Cheveldayoff is still pushing forward on this season with this club, what else do you think he's trying to get done before Friday?
I'm not sure we know who's available. And, if I am a team watching the Tanner Jeannot trade yesterday, and I'm below the line, the playoff line, and I've got a 24 or 25-year-old player that I hadn't even considered trading, with control left, am I now floating him out in the market? I call him Kevin Cheveldayoff and saying, hey, would you have any interest in blank? So that's the intriguing thing to me. I mean, we've got the names of some defensemen. I'm always in the mood for a crease-clearing defenseman in front of Connor Hellebuyck. I always am, because, firsthand, we watched Montreal ride that to the Stanley Cup Finals in front of Carey Price a couple of years ago, when their no-fly zone in front of the net consisted of Shea Weber and Ben Sherratt and Joel Edmondson and Jeff Petrie. You couldn't get there. Carey Price saw pucks, he stopped pucks. And if you let Connor Hellebuyck see pucks, he's going to stop pucks. So I think that can always be an addition. Who's available in that realm is Joel Edmondson healthy enough? I'm with Montreal a lot. He hasn't played. When he's played, he's been fine, but he hasn't played. And so you concern yourself with the health there. I'm not sure if Gavrikov is an option. He was purportedly going to Boston, and that fell through. And Mattias Ekholm is another name that's come up. I love what he brings to the game, because he brings a grit as well, and an offensive side as well. And who else is available once again that we don't know? Because I think, the West, you've got a couple of teams who've made deals. Vegas picked up Barbashev, and obviously the Jets, but you have to figure that Edmonton, Calgary, some of these teams are going to be involved in some capacity. Colorado, is Dallas going to do something? And what's that going to precipitate, and who's available? So I would love to add another crease clearer back there. That would be something I'd have a high level of interest in. And then maybe a depth forward, maybe somebody to provide more, on the backside of your top six. But I like the top six. I like the options it gives Rick Bowness in terms of how he can use Niederreiter, because we don't know exactly how this group fits together yet. It's not determined. It's not in stone that Connor played with Dubois or Connor played with Scheifele, or how it all fits. So I think there's some time here to tinker, and we'll see who becomes available. I think it's going to be active right through Friday, much to James Duthie's delight at 3:00.